There is a video of a Republican lieutenant governor and current gubernatorial candidate going viral for all of the wrong reasons, and I want to try to make sense of it with you all because I'm sort of stunned by it, and we'll do that, like I said, together. This is Mark Robinson. We've talked about him before. As the lieutenant governor, he was being crazy. Now he's the Republican nominee for governor in the state of North Carolina. And he's constantly saying things on social media, out in public, that are absolutely deranged. We'll reflect on some of those in just a little bit. But first, this video that just got released, the New Republic came across it from a speech in June at a church. And he's saying very churchy things like, sometimes you gotta kill people. And we'll dive into what we think he's referring to. It seems like he's talking about the evil on the other side. But again, I will try to derive more meaning from this as we go along. But here he is in a church being very loving and compassionate, saying we gotta kill people.
You know, it was a time when we used to meet evil on the battlefield, and guess what we did to it? We killed it. We didn't quibble about it. We didn't argue about it. We didn't fight about it. We killed it. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, what did we do? We flew to Japan. And we killed the Japanese Army and Navy. We didn't even quibble about it. I didn't start this fight. You did. You wanted to be left alone. You should have left me alone. We didn't argue and capitulate and talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't fight the Nazis that hard. No, they're bad. Kill them.
Now, by the way, he keeps having these moments where I think he thinks it's time for the crowd to erupt in cheers. And there will be some reluctant clapping later on. But I will say even the crowd behind him seems a little stunned. And thus, they're not making a whole lot of noise and not showing enthusiasm about what he's saying.
Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad.
Me.
Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad.
Look how long it took this lady to... Okay, well, if we're clapping, I'll clap.
Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity. We have wicked people doing wicked things, torturing and murdering and raping. It's time to call out those guys in green and go have them handled. Or those boys in blue and have them go handle it. We need to start handling our business again because, guys, what I said at the beginning about you getting in your cars, listening to your radio, putting on what you want to put on, and saying what you want to put on, keep thinking about it. Don't you feel it slipping away? Don't you feel it slipping away? The further away we get from the concept of 1776 and why we declared our independence and how we declared our independence, the further we start sliding into making 1776 a distant memory.
So, what? Okay, let me give you what the excuse is going to be from people saying this is not him promoting violence. He was talking about the rapists and the murderers, so really he's just making a case for the death penalty, which is a different type of discussion. I'm also opposed to, the death penalty for the reasons we've gone through, but that's a different discussion than just we need to take up arms and start being violent, as it feels like he's saying. But then he's talking about the evil that's being interfaced and the idea of America slipping away, right? Because if he's talking about us holding accountable properly, rapists, murderers, torturers, then surely he'd be supportive of the current agenda of Democrats and the Biden administration that has contributed to a rapid plummet in crime, right? So those types of crimes are decreasing rapidly at pretty historic paces. So that's good. So he'd be excited about that. But no, he's saying this evil in the country, which he's referring to us, the liberals who are going to get upset by this, that has to be addressed in a way like has been done when we're at war. And then he lists off wars. Or Another example, 1776. We need to go back to that. And this is something we hear a lot. So they always word it in a way where there's some plausible deniability because you're sort of waiting to hear, who are you talking about exactly? But given what we know about him and the context clues, and him ending it by saying the sort of same, the left is taking away the America we used to love and know idea, it does get you to, he's saying sometimes we have to kill people, and those people are the bad, not necessarily everyday liberals, but the powerful ones, it seems. You can disagree with me, but that's what I'm hearing there, and it's incredibly frightening. And also, it's particularly notable, given, like I said, the character of Mark Robinson and recent stories we've been talking about on the show. The president of the Heritage Foundation, one of the individuals crafting Project 2025, he said a new revolution is coming, and it can be bloodless if the left allows it to be. Meaning, the left may force us to make it bloody. And story after story of people like Alex Jones also saying this is a civil war, revolution type moment. And again, without getting into every example, the weeks of coverage we've been doing of different MAGA folks escalating their rhetoric over and over again. Steve Bannon saying victory or death, and this is like the Civil War. And of course, they won't say explicitly what they're alluding to, but you put enough of these different ideas together, and what you're delivering to the MAGA audience is so incredibly dangerous. And so before going further, I will say in the case of Mark Robinson, he needs to be defeated in November, and the list of reasons why is so long it would be hard to go through comprehensively, but let's see if we can do our best. So first, the New Republic reports MAGA governor candidate's ugly, hateful rant. Some folks need killing. Mark Robinson, the GOP nominee for governor of North Carolina, has a long history of incendiary comments, but he may have topped himself this time. And then it reports on what we went through. But then in terms of the full context of the speech, it breaks down that Robinson's call for the killing of some folks came during an extended diatribe in which he attacked an extraordinary assortment of enemies. These ranged from people who have evil intent to wicked people, to those doing things like torturing and murdering and raping, to socialists and communists. Now remember, in people like Mark Robinson's mind, in MAGA folks' mind, Joe Biden is a communist, which is silly, goofy, ridiculous, but is how they define it, which gets you to the danger of this. He also invoked those supposedly undermining America's founding ideals and leftists allegedly persecuting conservatives by canceling them and doxing them online. And there it is. Horrific. Now, I will say, if you care about the founding ideals, if you care about those principles that we have never quite fully embodied, but we want to strive to embody, the things that make America special, unique, and our home and the country we love, then, hey, maybe you shouldn't support the guy who called for the termination of the Constitution, because it's all sort of built on that foundation. The guy who doesn't respect key democratic tenets that hold together this incredible country. But, of course, Robinson loves that guy. In all this, Robinson appeared to endorse lethal violence against these unnamed enemies, particularly on the left, though he wasn't exactly clear on which folks are the ones who need killing. And then it goes through a little bit of his background. Robinson, a self-described MAGA Republican, has a long history of wildly radical and unhinged moments. He has linked homosexuality to pedophilia, called for the arrest of trans women, pushed hallucinogenic anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, endorsed the vile birther conspiracy about Barack Obama, described Michelle Obama as a man, hinted at the need to violently oppose federal law enforcement and the government, and posted memes mocking and denying the brutal violent assault on Nancy Pelosi's husband, among many other things. This is who the North Carolina Republican Party is choosing to select as their gubernatorial candidate. Republican voters, why? Because if you think that you're voting for Republicans because of Biden's inflation, which is an inaccurate portrayal, but even if that's what you believe, or the border, based on whatever your beliefs are about that, you know there are other Republicans who don't say and do the things that people like Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mark Robinson do and say that are so vile. Holocaust denial, mass shooting conspiracy theories, vile dehumanization of people. If really, as Republicans insist to me so often, the motivations are not based on hate and are economic, reasonable concerns, and you want pragmatic solutions to the problems, then why don't you support Republicans who aren't like this? But time and time again, you're selecting, at least the MAGA group, these sorts of leaders. And that makes me doubt what you proclaim to be pretty pure intentions. Hello, I know. Oh, why does he pause the video to ask people to subscribe just so quickly? To say, if you're not subscribed already, it does make a huge difference. If you appreciate the show, by clicking that subscribe button, you show it and you help us grow. Free, easy, but it makes a huge difference. Back to the video. Here's another moment from Mark Robinson.
I'm saying this now, and I've been saying it, and I don't care who likes it. Those issues have no place in a school. There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling any child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth. And yes, I called it filth. And if you don't like it that I called it filth, come see me and I'll explain it to you.
Right. And this one went really viral where he said, well, listen for yourself.
I'm a Republican because Republicans are the party of freedom and equality. Yeah. This narrative about Republicans being...
Except for the filth. Right, Mark? Well, they don't get to be equal. But then everyone... Well, not everyone. Because not the evil people we want to kill. But everyone else gets to be equal.
Republican because Republicans are the party of freedom and equality. Yeah. This narrative about Republicans being racist and cannot stand Mexican people and black people and women is ridiculous. This idiotic guy was on stage with Candace Owens a few days ago and asked her, what America are we going back to make America great again? The one where women couldn't vote or black people were swinging from trees? I would say to him if I was standing in front of him, I absolutely want to go back to the America where women couldn't vote. Do you know why? Because in those days we had people who fought for real social change and they were called Republicans.
So, because you all know, this show prioritizes honesty. So a lot of the clips cut off here.
I absolutely want to go back to the America where women couldn't vote.
A lot of them were cut right there. We found an extended version where you could see the because you know why part, so that I could address properly what he's saying and not straw man it.
You know why? Because in those days we had people who fought for real social change and they were called Republicans.
So his argument is so silly, is not, and by the way, I always wanted to caveat this in case you're coming across the channel for the first time. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering how many people come across every day, new people who've never seen the show. So I should include this for you all. If I'm being lighthearted about just wildly serious subjects, it's because otherwise I'm going to have a nervous breakdown covering all these. So instead, we got to be a little bit lighthearted about very serious subjects, understanding their importance. But here, he's saying not that he wants to go back to when women couldn't vote, which he does, but not that he wants to go back there because women couldn't vote, but because that time coincided with people fighting for things like women's suffrage, which so it's better to go back to when people had less rights so that people are fighting for more rights instead of people having those rights already because of past fights for those rights. Oh, but he's saying because that's when Republicans were advocating on behalf of more rights. Mark. But again, it does play into this same faux nostalgia that we've been coming back to a lot. The premise of the MAGA argument, Make America Great Again, back there, is that there was a time that's now in the rearview mirror where things were perfect, or at least way better. And so our way forward is backwards, and thus pressing us for a vision for what's ahead that is progress oriented is not called for, because what we want is back there. And that's what you do when you don't have a set of policy solutions that could really bring us forward. When in reality, except for a very small group of people, the idea they have of that time is a myth. And the incredible strides that we've made, as if I need to say this, should not be rolled back. But they can make people believe and then support leaders who do roll back that progress in the name of getting back to the time that was great. My belief is, let's be great now, as I believe us to be with our flaws, and let's try to be greater with further strides, further steps forward. And that doesn't have to include pushing people down, hating people, demonizing people, dehumanizing people. Instead, as I so often say about a group that I criticize a lot, MAGA, instead, I think we should advocate on behalf of policies that benefit everyone's lives, including MAGA's. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. If you want to get an extra episode of the show daily, you can do so by clicking the join button below. Like I said, extra members only content, plus you're supporting the work that we do every day.